Super excited to be here with you all today. And today I have the pleasure of talking to you about how health span, lengthening your life, relates to breathing. And it's funny because this question started in my mind about 10 years ago when I was working as a science teacher. And one of my students said that he had read somewhere that a bumblebee has only a limited amount of wing flaps. I don't know if you've ever heard this. Turns out to be an urban myth, but he asked me, how does that go for humans? Like, is our life ended when we have a certain finite amount of breaths that is ended, and then you have your last breath and then it's over? Well, it's not. But the way you breathe, the speed of your breathing, the frequency of your respiration, and just about everything it relates to is definitely related to your health span and your lifespan. As you all understand, if your respiratory rate goes down to 0, it means you're dead, right? So a few fascinating things to just consider. First of all, if you want to optimize your life, optimize your health, there's 1,000 things you can do. And they're all pretty amazing, and they're all available at this summit. But as I was going through my journey of health and biohacking, I realized, why wouldn't we start to optimize our health from the foundation, from the most foundational core function of our biology? This is what breathing is. It's the most important one. And if you think there's something else in your life more important than breathing, why don't you try to hold your breath while you do all this other stuff first, and then, within about a minute, you'll have your priorities back in line. You start life on an inhale. The word inhale is inspiration, which is kind of cool. And the word inspire means to be in spirit and to be in the breath. And of course, you end your life on an exhale. So the first thing you do in life is an inhale. The last thing you do is an exhale. And in between, you are 100% dependent for your quality of life on the quality of your breathing. And this is something, even though we do it about 15 to 20,000 times per day, we hardly ever become conscious of. So what I want to share with you today is 3 of the most important aspects of conscious breathing that relate to your lifespan and your health span. And the first one actually is the lung volume. There was a study that has been conducted over 30 years with more than 5,000 people, and they followed 3 generations in total, and they were testing all kinds of biomarkers, and the study is called the Framingham study. And one of the most important conclusions was that lung volume, lung capacity, so the capacity for your lungs to ventilate air and to take up oxygen, is the most important determining factor for your health span, for your lifespan, for how long you have to live. And of course, lung volume, in many cases, decreases over age. So they were able to extrapolate the deterioration of lung volume and lung capacity with age, and to predict how much life you have left based on the quality of your lungs. But one thing that's super fascinating is that in a lot of scientific and medical thinking over the years, it was not a common thought that we could consciously change our lung volume, but we actually can. So this is really cool. That means that through lung volume, through lung capacity, we have the ability to improve our higher chance of a longer and healthier life. Now, there's a few things that come into play, and I was a science teacher at some point, so I'd really love to take you into some basic anatomy. So over here you see this wonderful thoracic cage over here. You see some ribs on the outside. And then we have this bronchial tree, as it's called. And if you look at a tree in winter, it actually looks like upside-down lungs, or lungs actually look like an upside-down tree. And there's infinite branches, and these branches, of course, they go towards the alveoli. Now, a lot of people think that your lungs are like a bag that hangs in your body, and then air comes in, and it flows through the entire bag, and it goes out. But actually, your lungs consist of up to 500 million mini bags. And these mini bags are your alveoli, and this is where the air comes to give off the oxygen. And the fact that there's 500 million bags makes for a very fascinating point, because the extent to which these 500 million bags are used optimally determines the extent to which your cells at a mitochondrial level can actually utilize oxygen. And this is why it's such an important factor for health span. Now, there's a few factors into play. First of all, you have a few lobes of your lungs. And what we see often in day-to-day life is that people mainly use the higher lobes of their lungs. They're a little bit smaller. They come up all the way above your collarbone. And if you breathe in a stressful way, if you breathe in a superficial way, in a suboptimal way, you will use mainly the higher lobes of your lungs and have less of your millions and millions of little bags available for ventilation. And the lower lobes of the lungs are actually innervated more by the parasympathetic nervous system. The lower lobes are larger. So if you can breathe with full lung capacity, you will utilize these millions and millions of bags much better. And this, of course, also has to do with the usage of the diaphragm, which is the most important breathing muscle that you have. So we see a lot of people in our work with my coaches where people breathe in a very superficial way. They breathe with their chest and they breathe through their mouth, and they're not utilizing optimal lung capacity. And it's incredibly simple to start enhancing your lung capacity right away. So I'll take you through a little thing in just a second by using your diaphragm, by opening up your rib mobility, but especially by training the flexibility of these bags and by moving still air out. So first I'll show you what a maximum capacity breath looks like and a minimum. And this is a bit graphic content. This is a video that was taken during my breathwork masterclass where we dissect real animal tissues. So these are sheep lungs, actually. And here we're seeing a human breathing into a sheep lung. And you see this massive thing increasing. And then at some point he's going to let go. And then you're going to see this effortless contraction of this lung tissue. And it becomes this beautiful, small, kind of spongy tissue. So I have to note, by the way, that in your body, your lungs will not go to this maximum capacity, right? So you won't really be able to get it that full because it's in your ribs. It wouldn't be very healthy. However, this is a nice visual to keep in mind when you are doing work to improve your lung capacity. So there's a few ways to improve your lung capacity. One of the most powerful ones, is to breathe, to exhale, to slow down your exhale with resistance. So play saxophone, play didgeridoo, play the flute, or use a breath trainer. There's multiple different devices. And another one is to oscillate between a maximum depth inhale, where all of these 500 million balloons are put at their maximum stretch, and then a maximum length exhale, so you empty your lungs fully. It's a little bit uncomfortable, and that's when your 500 million little balloons, these alveoli, are at their most relaxed. And it's oscillating between those two, which is like a strength training for your lungs. So let's do a very simple mini practice. If you're still eating, by all means, keep eating. First thing we're going to do is we're going to breathe in through our nose into our belly. When the belly is full, we open the chest. And at the top, we take a few more bites of air. And we hold that for just a few seconds. Then we're going to explode in relaxation. And then push the rest of the air out. Lean forward, all the way out. And when you feel like you have to, you breathe back in. Right? So this exhale is very uncomfortable at the end. We're going to do it again, so breathe all the way in. A few bites of air. Hold it for just a few seconds. Explode in relaxation. And push all the way out. And hold that for as long as it's comfortable. And then you breathe back into your nose and come back to normal breathing. So what we're doing here is we're training our lungs, like this hypersensitive tissue. And if you consider that every bit of energy that you've ever made in your body was made with the use of oxygen that you breathe, almost all of it was made with the use of oxygen that you breathe in through your lungs. Your lungs consist of 500 million microbags, and if you would all lay them out over a flat surface, it would be the size of a tennis field. So in every second of the day, you are dependent for your life on this hypersensitive organ, the size of a tennis field, that is always exchanging information with the outside world. Now, as biohackers, we think a lot about taking away negative input, so taking away toxins, decreasing toxicity in our life, taking away bad food, and taking in optimal input. So we think about supplements, we think about the most amazing, healthy food without any toxins, because we can choose what we eat and what we drink, but we can't choose what we breathe in. And air quality is decreasing at a ridiculous rate. In 2020, there was a study that came out that nobody paid any attention to for semi-obvious reasons, that showed that every cubic meter of air, even up in Lapland, where we're supposed to have the cleanest air in the world, every cubic meter of air has a few hundred microparticles of plastic in there. Right? So air quality is decreasing. We can't determine what we breathe. We are always in a sense of full trust when we breathe. But we can determine how we breathe. And how we breathe really determines the extent to which air quality has a negative impact on our lives. So let's go into a nice little quick physiology lesson on what breathing really does. First of all, what you should know, and what you probably know, is that we inhale air in order to get oxygen into our system, and we exhale air that is richer in carbon dioxide to get rid of carbon dioxide. So this is a quick tour through your amazing breathing apparatus. First of all, you breathe in, preferably through the nose, because the nose is a filter, it's a humidifier, it opens up the airways through nitric oxide, and it ends up in the lower airways into your lungs. That is where we meet a massive amount of capillary tissue, where the red blood cells, they pick up oxygen and hemoglobin, and they carry this through the entire bloodstream, right? So we're still on the inhale. Then, of course, this is carried through the bloodstream in our alveoli. So these alveoli, these 500 million little bags, this is a close-up of them, and your entire lung tissue is filled with them. If you touch a lung, if you come to one of my courses, if you're still interested, if you touch a lung, it feels like a sponge, because that's what it is. It's all these tiny little openings. And in the end, the whole goal of this, the whole goal of ventilating air, so what we do in our lungs is ventilation, and what we do in our cells is respiration. The goal of ventilation, the goal of breathing is respiration, cellular respiration. As every biohacker knows, mitochondrial health is all health. The extent to which your mitochondria can produce optimal energy through preferably aerobic combustion, combustion with oxygen, determines the amount of energy that you have for life. And every unit, almost every unit of energy that you've used for just about everything in your life has come from this basic formula of life, where oxygen plus fuel in the mitochondrium is, so the fuel is combusted with oxygen, and as a product of that, we get, of course, as a result, life energy, right? So this is the real physical, measurable energy that your life runs on. And we get a byproduct called carbon dioxide. Now, if you can understand this formula, basically, you can understand almost every breathing technique out there, whether it's ancient practices or modern science, because this basic formula explains how your body is dependent on breath and how it uses it. Now, the takeaway here is that I've told you that these red blood cells, they carry the oxygen to the tissues, and then they give off the oxygen to the cell in order to produce this energy. However, the red blood cells only release the oxygen if they meet this byproduct of carbon dioxide. Now, here's the kicker. The less you breathe, the better you live. Because carbon dioxide makes sure that the red blood cells, the hemoglobin, they let go of the oxygen, okay? And you release carbon dioxide with every breath you take. So if you breathe too much, if you breathe more than you need to, you will lose carbon dioxide, and even though you breathe more, you will have less oxygen available in your cells. So the more you breathe, the more you ventilate, the less you respirate. So if you're at all interested in improving your mitochondrial health, which you are, otherwise you wouldn't be here, it's essential to understand that the less you breathe, the better you can use oxygen. And, of course, this is obvious if we're sitting here in a room full of optimized biohackers, and there's no real way to tell who is the most healthy, because you are all look incredibly young, incredibly fit, in amazing shape, okay? Let's say there's one person that's sitting in this chair right now, and they're out of breath. They're panting. Immediately we would know this is the weakest link in the biohacker crowd. This person is not healthy, right? If we would walk together to the end of this room, and at the end of the room I am out of breath, and you are not, it means that my health is at a lower level than yours. It's a very basic thing that we can all understand. And there's actually a doctor, a legendary doctor called Buteyko, Dr. Buteyko, who was the first to link respiratory rate, the speed of breathing, to almost every health issue that there is. So breathing less, which we'll do in about 3 minutes. Another thing that we should all understand as biohackers is that the main thing that limits our health span is chronic inflammation, right? We should probably all know about this. Chronic inflammation is the main thing that limits our health span. So people are living longer, they're being kept alive with a lower level of health. And chronic inflammation is the cause of more than 90% of all the health issues that we see. Now, the fastest way to downregulate chronic inflammation is through activating the vagus nerve, which is the most important actor in the parasympathetic nervous system. Right? So there's a nerve running through your body, the tone of which determines the amount of inflammation in your organs, in your gut, in your entire body. Now, there have been numerous scientific studies that show that there is an optimal breathing rate that activates the vagus nerve. And this is a breathing rate at 6 breaths per minute. So 10 seconds per breath, 5 seconds in, 5 out, 4 in, 6 out, 3 in, 7 out. And this has been measured in many different ways. So if you are at all interested in minimizing your chances of, for example, chronic inflammation and lifestyle-related illnesses, it is a very good idea to become really good friends with your vagus nerve. Now, the sensation of an activated vagus nerve is something that we've all experienced. You feel it when you come out of the sauna and have done an ice bath, after a great workout, when you're cuddling your partner on the couch, when you're just fully relaxed and there's this sense in your body of like, yes, this is the state that I need. And this is the state that we're going to look for in this little breathing practice that we're going to do together, and then you can take that home. So to combine these three things, first of all, we want to exercise these 500 million balloons that our life depends on by maximum inhaling and maximum exhaling. So we're going to do 3 of those. And this is in the beginning a little bit uncomfortable to do this maximum exhale, but it's a really good idea because it moves still air out of the lungs, it exercises these alveoli. Then we're going to set up a breathing rhythm that I'll guide with the handpan over here, which is 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out. In the beginning, it might feel a bit fast to you, it might feel a bit slow for you. We're just going to start up this breathing rhythm for a minute or 2, and you're just going to align your breath on the inhale and on the exhale. And then we're going to minimize the amount of breath we take in within those 5 seconds. So we're going to breathe smaller and smaller and smaller to the point where you feel like, I would like a little bit more air, but this is still kind of okay. Dr. Buteyko actually called this air hunger, but there's many different ways to describe it. We call this hypoventilation, underbreathing. Right? So the cure for overbreathing is underbreathing. So we're combining this in this little optimized breathing hat that we're about to do together. And just to make sure that we're actually in this scientifically shown optimized rhythm, I'm going to quickly play a metronome in my ear so that I am fully aligned with the right beat. And I invite you to take on a very pleasant, calm position. Put your feet down on the floor next to each other. And what we're going to start with is by breathing through our nose all the way in. I need a different ear. And then going to the maximum exhale. All right, and we're going to do that 3 times. So you can join me, follow along, breathe in. Hold it. And let go. Lean forward. And all the way in again. All the way full. Hold it for just a few seconds. Feel the pressure in your lungs and relax. And push it all the way out. And all the way in again. As much as you can and let go. And push it all the way out. Okay, and we're going to start breathing in 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe in. 3, 4, and let go. And in. 2, 3, 4, and let go. And breathe in through your nose to your belly. And let go. And in at any depth that it feels good to you right now. And let go. And now breathe in, but breathe in a little bit less than you just did. And let go. Just let go in full relaxation. We're going to make the inhale smaller. So breathe in. 3, 4, and let go. And we're going to breathe in less and less with every time. And breathe in a little bit smaller. And you feel like you're just not getting enough. And let go. And in a little bit smaller again. And find that range. And let go. That range where you feel like it could be a little bit more, but it's doable. And in. And let go. And in. And feel that discomfort. And let go. Because this discomfort is training your brainstem use oxygen in a better way. And let go. And in. We're going to stay here for about 1 more minute and let go. So find a zone that you can keep going. In. It's challenging, but still possible. And let go. And in. And let go. And in. And let go. And in. 2 more very small ones. And let go. And in. And let go. And after this one, we're going to go back to very big breaths, but still in these 5 seconds. So in, make it nice and big. And let go. And 1 more big. And let go in full relaxation. And then come back to your normal breathing. All right. Well, you all look pretty stoned right now, which is a clear sign that your vagus nerve has been activated. So this is how simple this is. This was 4 minutes of conscious breathing. You've exercised your lung capacity, you've increased your ability to utilize oxygen, and it's a noticeable difference where you can feel a change in your state, and every single breath you take feels a little bit fresher and a little bit more effective and a little bit deeper. Right? So that's the power of breath. If you have any questions, you can find me today or text me on Instagram. I'm very grateful for your attention. Wish you a wonderful day and breathe easy. Thank you.